Huge, beefy men, they were all over 6'4" and seemingly just as wide. Their task was to move the press out of the way without using force. However much Katherine was jostled, they weren't allowed to use hand-on-body contact because of the possibility of being sued for criminal assault. Their job was to guard and protect their charges without roughhousing, which some paparazzi with a grudge often resorted to. The world had no idea how tough it really was. The toes of Katherine's shoes had been trampled on half a dozen times, and twice a camera had narrowly missed smashing into her face as an overzealous snapper had swung around for a better angle. She had ink stains on her silk jacket where one of the journalists had carelessly allowed his pen to brush against her sleeve, and all in all she felt a complete mess. This was Hollywood's latest, most dramatic divorce, so the press were desperate for a sensational quote from Katherine, and if they couldn't get one, they would make it up. The fabrications she had read about herself in the newspapers over the past week had been mind-boggling. Katherine Bennet, 43, has appeared in court in a different designer outfit every day during the week of her divorce case, screamed one tabloid. With each over-the-top high-priced outfit, she flaunted an equally flamboyant hairstyle, and she was wearing enough makeup to stock a medium-sized drugstore. That was a complete distortion for a start. Katherine had always been well-dressed and groomed. Even as a child, her hair ribbon had to be tied at the right angle, and her white socks pulled up just so. All she had actually worn in the courtroom were 3 or 4 classically cut jackets in subtle shades of taupe, gray or beige, a couple of simple skirts, and high heels. Katherine always wore heels, even with trousers. She liked making her 5 feet 5 inches into 5 feet 8, and if some would describe her as a throwback to the 60s, why should she care? Katherine prided herself on being her own person. She didn't particularly mind what people thought of her, and she always spoke her mind. She wore what she wanted, what suited her, and she never, ever suffered fools in any way gladly. Sometimes Katherine's stubbornness and self-sufficiency made her seem cold or aloof, and to those who thought of her as their enemy, she could appear alarmingly like the venomous shrew she was currently playing so successfully on television. "So, are you off all men forever then, Kitty?" smirked the stringer for the New York tabloid which her mother devoured every day. "Never say never, my friend," smiled Katherine, Ray-Bans masking the flatness in her eyes. "Who knows? Maybe I'll turn sapphic." What'd she say?" The reporter's eyes swiveled round to look at his cronies, who had completely misinterpreted Katherine's quip and was scribbling, "You know I'll still stop traffic," onto their steno pads. "For Christ's sake, Katherine," said Barry sotto voce. "Start telling these guys you're a goddamn lesbo and the shit'll really hit the fan." That gave Katherine the first real laugh she'd had for days. "It's a joke, Barry. A feeble one, I guess, but I'm not up to Robin Williams' standard today." It had been hell in that courtroom. For 5 days, 7 hours a day, on a hard wooden seat in full view of the court and the 24 assorted hacks behind her, she had sat as motionless and expressionless as was possible, with a breaking heart and a lump in her throat the size of a melon. At one point during her husband's testimony, she had scribbled to Barry on her yellow legal pad the words, "He's lying, lies, lies, lies," and that appeared as the 3rd most important item on the 6 o'clock news all over America that night. Now, with the covey still yapping questions and snapping their hateful cameras, the open door of the black limo seemed like a haven. She eased herself carefully into the rear seat, the way any woman in a shortish skirt learns to do. Bottom on seat first, legs firmly together, then swing them in swiftly before the pack could grab a leg shot. But not swiftly enough today. One of the sleazier snappers had set the timer on his camera and placed it strategically on the pavement, so that as Katherine swung her legs into the car, the camera flashed twice, getting a full view up her skirt. "Son of a goddamn bitch!" Bert heaved a kick at the offending camera, which clattered into the gutter. "Fuck you, buddy!" screamed the red-faced paparazzo, scrabbling to retrieve it. "I'll get you for grievous assault to personal property, you prick!" Bert didn't answer. He signaled to his cohorts to slam the doors on Katherine's side and jump into the front seat beside the chauffeur, barked, "Move it!"